have done a video performance of this song Nightrain. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link to the video below. This tune, Nightrain, is a great song for a sax player to work on and really perfect, because it actually covers basically the entire range of the horn, from the low B flat note, which is dominant in this song, right, up to the high D, which is the top note of the melody, and that high D is only a third away from the very highest note. So really, to perform this song properly, you should have good control over the entire range of your saxophone. The good news is that when you do nail those two licks, you'll have most of the tune down already. But there's other things involved, so let's take a closer look. As you can see, it's in B flat. It has the key signature of 2 flats there. That tells us it's in B flat in this case. And it's a 12-bar blues, B flat, E flat, F7, back to E flat, and then B flat again every 12 bars. You'll see there I do a double line in the chart to indicate that that's a 12-bar segment or section. Now, the first riff, the first main riff, which is and then it does the exact same thing over the other 2 chords, except that D starting note is flattened to a D flat or C sharp, right? And then it goes back to the same riff. And then on the 5 chord, it also starts on that D flat. I would like to point out that unless you play that glissando or fall off, it's not gonna really do justice to this tune, is it? Because that's an important part. It sounds like this. Well, basically, doing this song without that would be pretty lackluster, wouldn't it? Doesn't have the same effect, right? So that glissando, all you're doing is hitting off that melody note, which at first is that high D, and falling off every note as you come down. I have a how to play a glissando video in a more full-length lesson, but basically all you're doing is playing a chromatic scale very fast as you fall off and kind of fade out into nothing. That fall off basically is you fall squeezing every note. A chromatic scale is every single note, right? Every semitone in between. Now, if you miss 1 or 2 in that fall off, it's not really going to matter because it's just a big flurry of notes. But the closer you get to a perfect chromatic scale coming off of that high note, the better and smoother that whole thing is going to sound. So your first step is to work on that descending glissando. The second lick, the hardest thing about that lick is really nailing those low B flats, especially on the tenor sax. You need a lot of air, and that's where that proper breathing and good strong embouchure come in. If you don't have those, it's going to be hard. I arranged this song for the alto also in this key for the alto because it allows you to play that low B flat as well. When you download the backing track from my site, you'll be downloading a backing track that's in a different key. So the transposition does not happen in the sheet music. It happens in the audio MP3, enabling the alto players to play in that same key where they're also playing that low B flat on their horn, right? Allows you to do that low barking B flat, which is, I think, a big important part of the tune. Now the next part of the song is probably the most difficult technically, if you look at it, but don't let these kinds of things scare you, because when you're learning something like this, it's really important to learn it in small chunks. I would just take each triplet slowly, learn it. Basically, a triplet is 3 notes on one beat. Da da da. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. 1 triplet, 2 triplet. That first group has a rest instead of a note there, so it goes bop bop, 1 bop bop, rest 1 2, rest 2 3, rest 2 3. So the first 2 notes, the first count goes 3 4. Ba, 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 da. And then that fourth beat, it has a 8th note to a quarter note, but it's got a triplet thing under it, right? So da da, it just keeps that same triplet feel. The fourth part of this song, of this tune, of this arrangement, is that when it's that part where it comes down, drops down in volume. Another one of the cool things about this tune and this arrangement is that, it does start really loud and aggressive and high kind of energy and volume. And then it has this real cool part in the middle here, which just drops. Everything drops, and it just changes the mood up, and it lets you kind of sound a little bit different on your sax. You get that sort of softer, airier, sexy kind of tone come through. But keep your intensity. Actually, when we play soft, it's harder to play soft and keeping that intensity up, because we're actually having to work harder by pushing that air, but sort of controlling the volume knob a little lower, but the air and still has to keep coming up. So it's actually a harder technique to play soft and full and in control than it is to play loud. One more thing about this arrangement in particular, I did use instead of writing that whole section again, and making this thing about 3 pages long, I decided to use the DC Al Coda. When you see that, it means go back to the very beginning and play through until you see the words to Coda. Just literally jump to the end where you see that Coda sign, that circle with a cross inside it. That's the coda. Again, very hard to hold that low B flat. This is a good exercise if you're not nailing if you're not nailing those low B flats and you have a hard time. Start on a higher note during with your daily exercises. A D. D is not really, really low, but it's already in that lower register, but it's not low enough to give you a hard time like the B and the B flat. So now if you can't hit a low D dead on, do a little cheating thing like I do sometimes in a song. Go from your A and just go down chromatically. The secret to this trick is that your airflow is not stopping, so you're not ending any notes. Once you hit that A, you're safe, because you just let the other notes go down to your low D, and blow hard and steady, and you'll hit that low D. Once you're down there and you have control of it, then keep your air constantly going through, and only use your tongue to stop and start the note again. But don't let that air stop. Your air supply, your air pressure is continuous, and you're only using your tongue as a sort of valve to open up that note. And that's the trick. Ta, I'm just going ta, 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 ta. If that's the only thing you get from these lessons, or this lesson, that's still going to be huge, no matter what. So work on that.